Just
Earl.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining tonight. Thank you for all your hard work yesterday. Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, Dr. Sheboy. Thanks, everybody who was involved in helping us make it a successful day. At this point, Dr. Sheboy, are we just turning it right over to the resolutions?
Yes. Yes. We're going to proceed with the resolutions.
Okay.
If it's okay with the board, I would.
Go ahead.
I would just like to, again, thank the community for coming out to support the mission of the district and the work of the amazing professionals in the district. Also want to congratulate both Aaron Falk and Kristen Odell for taking and winning the trustee seats for the next school year. And really just, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
And I too want to thank everybody for coming out and supporting our budget and our second proposition for our capital fund. That's going to go a long way for us to be able to continue our improvements that we plan to do in our district and keeping our buildings up and running and in good shape. So I thank everybody very much for that. And we can turn it over to the certification of the budget vote and election results. Denise, if you can do that for me, 1, 2, and I want to do number 3, number 4. Some of these we have to take separate if I can. So let's just do them as the consent agenda, number 1, number 2, number 1 and number 2 for now. Okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of its time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate, and that item will be considered and voted on separately, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issue. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following consent agenda as submitted by the Superintendent of Schools, number 1 and 2.
Motion.
Second.
And you're muted. Oh, now you're okay. And we can't hear you.
Can you guys hear me now? Okay, I'm
yes,
really sorry. I'm going to keep my camera off, okay? I'll try to put it back on, but let's see. Okay, good. Okay. Are there any questions on number 1 and 2? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And again, I thank everybody for the support in a phenomenally put together budget, and I look very forward to the upcoming year. So thank you, everybody. Okay, number 3.
All right, so we read them separately now, Ann?
Yes, but is this the one? I'm sorry, just give me 1 minute.
Yep.
Is this the one that you have a change on, Marissa?
Yes. It's the.
Okay, hold on. Let me find, because it looks to me as if it's matching, so I'm a tad bit confused.
I did make a change before the meeting.
Agenda.
You made the change before the meeting.
I was able to make the change, Dr. Sheboy.
Oh,
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm just looking at
What is what change?
okay, hold on. Let me go to it and read it so we make sure this is correct. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby creates a temporary position of school business administrator effective June 21st through June 25th. And be it further resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools that the Board of Education hereby appoints Joseph Lentz to the position of school business administrator effective June 21st through June 25th at a contract basis at a per diem rate of $677.08, and be it further resolved that the superintendent of schools and board president are hereby authorized to execute a contract in lieu of probation with Mr. Lentz. A copy of such contract will be incorporated by reference within the minutes of this meeting. I'll explain after I get a motion in a second.
Motion.
Yeah, I'd like to comment.
Who gave the second? Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Faith. Okay, so Ms. Sedera is going to be here with us through June 25th. We can't have somebody working in the district with the same two of the same titles. So in order for Mr. Lenz and Ms. Sedera to be able to cross-train, we had to set up the agreement per se in this manner at a per diem rate of $677.08 for those 4 days. The 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th, I apologize, those 5 days. On the next resolution, you'll see the appointment starting on June 26th. So our attorneys were able to draft the resolutions and the agreements as such for us to remain in compliance with education law and still do 5 days of cross-training, which we know certainly isn't anywhere near enough, but it'll at least get our feet wet and get us moving forward. So I have a motion and a second on this resolution, and then we'll continue on with the next ones. Does anyone have any questions?
I'd like to be heard. The contract, did you say 677 or 607.08?
I said that was the change that was made before the meeting to update it to the correct per diem rate of $677.08.
Thank you. And comment on the contract. The language of the contract with reference to the 5 weeks vacation makes no reference that it be prorated.
We're only talking right now about the agreement for the 4 days. That's all we're talking about right now.
Okay. And we'll
So-
come back to this then.
Yes, please. Okay, thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. And then the next one, the next one is our important one, not that they're not all important, but be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby appoints Joseph Lentz, who possesses professional certification as a school district business leader, to the position of acting assistant superintendent for business from June 26th through July 9th, and as assistant superintendent for business effective July 10th, and serve a 3-year probationary term based on having received prior tenure in a New York State school district effective June 26, 2021 through June 25th, 2024. And be it further resolved that the board hereby authorizes its president to execute an agreement dated May 19, 2021 between the district and Mr. Lentz to govern his terms and conditions of employment as acting assistant superintendent / assistant superintendent for business effective June 26, 2021 as presented to the board at this meeting. A copy of such agreement shall be incorporated by reference within the minutes of this meeting. So if I could please get a motion in a second, and then I'll make sure I explain this clearly as well.
Motion.
Second.
Gabe and Faith. So in this case, Miss Sedaris still has vacation to take. So her last day of work is June 25th. Her last day of employment is July 9th.
Yes, July
We
9th.
go to it, July 9th. Thank you. So Mr. Lenz will be acting during the period of Ms. Sedaris' vacation, and then he becomes officially in place on July 10th going forward. So this is where, again, all this is in place for us to remain within New York State legal obligations as it comes to New York State education law for setting up contracts for our assistant superintendents, and make sure that everything that we have in place is legal, follows all rules and regs, and covers and is fair to our employees. So that being said, I believe that Ned first had a question on the vacation.
I think that the words prorated should be inserted in the proper place there with regard to the grant of 5 weeks vacation.
Prorated, let me read this. The assistant,
So that the employee doesn't get 25 days immediately.
that's how the contracts are written, Frank. I'm sorry, Frank, please confirm. That's how the contracts are, our previous contracts were written as well, correct?
Administrative read the rules up front to the full. They would owe us time back. Administrative
And
contract, or I can hear that.
Is everyone having a hard time hearing Frank?
Yeah.
Okay, Frank, we're having a really hard time hearing you.
I can hear.
You're frozen. We can't hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, he'll call us back in. Frank is on vacation and he's joining us tonight, just so the public knows. He's on vacation heading to a family event. So he called in from the road, which we appreciate very much, but I want us to get the clear answer to this question. So let's just give him a minute to rejoin.
And if I could ask a quick question of Ned.
Of course.
Okay. So Ned, when you're saying prorated, right? The tenure period starts the day that Joe comes in as the first position that Ann read. I don't remember that title. That's right.
Yes.
And that's the probation
Right.
period is that from
Right.
there until 3 years from that date. Right. And then once Denise starts her vacation time, Joe comes in as acting for about 2 to 3 weeks, I think it is. And then he becomes the ASB. So Ned, when you're saying prorated, do you mean that part of that time shouldn't be counted, or
No,
that?
no, that when after the initial non-long contract period, when the contract period for the 3 years, I believe it was, starts for the first year, it's my understanding that the person doesn't earn on the first day or first week of employment 25 days, so that at the end of 1 month, they would have 25 days should they decide to move on for some reason.
Hold on, Ned. Frank rejoined. So Frank,
Yeah,
go
so
ahead.
thank you. That is not how we have done any central administrative positions. Certainly the last 7 years.
Correct.
We've appointed. They've had their accruals, and people have been responsible with it. If the concern Sorry.
Okay.
So, to be
I
honest,
heard-
I can,
I heard Frank's response.
yes. And, Ned, also, if you'll notice, we have Frank hit it on the head when he said we have professionals working here that, obviously there would be a red flag if the first time someone came to work, they started taking vacation days. However, the one thing that is in there is saying that Dr. Sheboy needs to approve the vacation days. That's in there right underneath it as well. So that can also help.
That's not the circumstance that I'm talking about. I'm talking about a situation where a person, for whatever reasons, were to leave within a short period of time. Under this language, they would have accumulated the 25 vacation days.
Okay, I understand that. And I think that Frank answered it, all the other administrators in the district. I see what you're saying, Ned. You're saying if in 6 months from now, an administrator chose to leave and they had already taken their vacation, we've paid them for time. And I understand what you're saying. And I think, like Frank said, we make sure that we, follow that and we're hire professional people.
Second comment.
Go after them. That is an annual.
Go ahead.
I'm satisfied with your comment,
Thank you.
although I think it's ill-advised, not with regard to this employee, but in general. My second comment is the provision of the contract. I believe it's in the first paragraph about it cannot be a reduction of salary with language saying upon the annual review. The intent, I believe, being that you can't reduce the salary based upon the findings in the annual review. And I understand that and can accept that. However, it seems to me that it negates any right that the district would have in an emergency, and we're seeing more and more emergencies, that it could not seek to reduce the salary based upon issues of non-funding or other emergencies unrelated to the evaluation. So I call that to your attention.
Thank you, Ned.
Yeah.
Does anyone
And if
have
I could
anything else?
And if I could just speak to that,
Yes, please.
Obviously, those are conversations that, should the situation arise, the board can always request, conversations and negotiations with any employee. As the board is aware, sometimes individuals are amenable to shared sacrifice, and sometimes they're not. But that is always something that, if a calamitous economic situation arose, that the board could, ask the superintendent to approach either a collective union or an individual with terms and conditions or a contract to ameliorate that concern. Again, recognizing that, an individual or a union wouldn't necessarily have to, but it has happened even in this district of late. So.
And the other thing I wanted to say for the record, we've done this in the past. We've done it in the past, and many years ago. If I know some of the board members were on, and Ned, you were a board member then, where we actually went back and asked for help from our union, and from Dr. Sheboy did it not too long ago. He didn't take his raise.
That's not the issue. The issue is that it could strongly be argued from the employee's standpoint that the district had given that legal right up, or
Okay, well,
That's why I'm
that's
calling
standard.
it to the.
I just confirmed with our attorney, that's standard language in the contract
It
as well, so.
can be standard, but doesn't mean it's correct, all
Okay,
right?
Ned, but we can't negotiate contracts in public. So I totally respect if the board would like to discuss as an executive session at a later date, we can certainly put that on the agenda to do that, but it,
And I'm not negotiating in public. I'm calling attention to a contract which was provided, at least to this member, on short notice. I'm supportive of the Mr. Lenz, but I want to make a record clear so that
okay,
when someday this occurs, your standard language was not written in the Bible,
okay, and
okay?
it's not my standard language, it's contract standard language for the record.
Our standard language.
Thank you. Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Next, I would like to ask Joe, thank you for joining us at the meeting. Welcome. And I'd just like to know if you'd have any quick comments that you would like to make.
Well, I certainly would just like to say thank you, to the Board of Education, the committee, for bringing me forward. I really look forward to joining the team and, continuing the work of Ms. Sedera. She's left the district in great financial shape, and I look forward to continuing that on into the future. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Joe, and we're very blessed to have you. So welcome. Thank you.
Welcome, Joe.
Thank you. Denise, can you take over for 5, 6, 7, and 8?
Okay. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby appoints Robin Haberman as a full-time 1.0 FTE interim principal for the 2021-2022 school year. This appointment is compensated in accordance with the administrator's collective negotiated agreement at $140,000. Ms. Haberman holds New York State permanent certification in the following: school district administrator.
I make the motion.
Second.
Third.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Very, very happy.
Okay. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby approves a leave of absence for Robin Haberman, assistant principal at the James Iona High School, effective on July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, at salary of $140,000. Is this correct?
Denise, can I,
You want to read
I'm
it?
sorry. I don't think you did the resignation yet.
Well, this was the leave of absence, but it's reading the same.
No, the
thing.
resignation of Mrs. Brand.
On the one we have must not be right. Let me bring it up on school.
Hold
Let me-
on, I'll do it. I'm sorry for
Not
the
in here.
confusion. I'll do it. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation of Debbie Brand, principal of James I. O'Neill High School, effective June 30th, 2021. May I please get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Julie, do we need to do the next one over again then, which would be appointing Robin?
It would be good for safety purposes, just because you can't appoint somebody to a position that doesn't exist
Okay.
as a vacancy.
Okay.
So
Okay, thank you.
got it.
I got it. Just in case you don't have the most up to date.
I have it now, and I'm up.
Okay.
Okay, be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby appoints Robin Haberman as a full-time 1.0 FTE interim principal for the 2021-2022 school year. This appointment is compensated in accordance with the administrator's collectively negotiated agreement at $140,000. Ms. Haberman holds New York State certification in the following: school district administrator.
Motion. Second.
Second.
Motion.
Mute.
And you're muted again.
I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion, you're opposed?
Oh, he said aye late.
Who is?
Thank you. Motion carries. Go ahead.
Okay, this is number 7. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby approves a leave of absence for Robin Haberman, assistant principal at the James I. O'Neill High School, effective July 1 through June 30th, 2022. Ms. Haberman is filling the vacancy created by the resignation of Miss Debbie Brand.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Robin, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. We're looking forward to working with you, and we know you're going to do great things. So thank you.
Thank you. I would just like to say thank you to the board and to Dr. Sheboy for this opportunity and for your trust and support. And I truly look forward to serving the district in this new capacity. So thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. And welcome to your
Thank you,
new
Robin.
position.
Thank you.
Okay. This number 8. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby accepts Yashira Maldonado's resignation from her position as assistant principal of Highland Falls Intermediate School effective close of business on August 17th, 2021. And be it further resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools that the Board of Education hereby appoints Yashira Maldonado, who possesses initial certification as a school building leader, to the position of principal assigned to the Highland Falls Intermediate School in the principal tenure area at an annual salary of $130,000 prorated for the 2021-2022 school year to serve a 4-year probationary term effective August 18th, 2021 through August 17th, 2025, subject to receipt of composite or overall annual professional performance review ratings pursuant to education law 3012C and/or 3012D of either effective or highly effective in at least 3 of the 4 preceding years. And if the probationary receives an effective composite in the final year of the probation period, she shall not be eligible for tenure at that time.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion. It's myself. Second is Gabe. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Yashira, I am so thankful. We are, as a board, are so thankful. Dr. Sheboy, all the administrators are so thankful for you stepping up and taking this important position. So we can't thank you enough, and we wish you the best, and we're here to support you 1,000%.
Thank you. And I just want to thank again Dr. Sheboy, Dr. Theodore, Mrs. Federa, and the board. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to step into the role of principal of HFIS, a school that really has become my home over the last 4 years. I also want to give a special thanks to Mr. Maxwell for being the definition of a true leader, a leader that sees the value in others and really helps them see it in themselves. And last but not least, I want to thank my village, the HFIS team of teachers, staff, parents, and past and present students. Yes, those at the high school. You will never know the impact that you have had on this Puerto Rican girl from the South Bronx. You have stood by my side in bad and good and ugly days and COVID days. You are my reason. And I walk into this position knowing that together we got this. Thank you.
Thank you, Yashira. So the one thing I want to point out before we move on is how our district has come together, the administrative team, the board, the faculty, the staff. We've coached our people, we've worked with our people, we've let our people grow, and we're now able to backfill positions from within, which helps not only the administrators, but it helps our teachers, it helps our students to know that they're in a safe and a good place. And they're not going to feel the change because it's all going to be transparent because of all these great moves we've been able to do. So, and give people opportunities. So I just thank everybody for working so well together and so hard so we make this happen, so this can happen. So thank everybody again for that. And with that, I'm going to move us into executive session. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education recesses into executive session for the purpose of discussing the employment history of a particular individual and discuss collective negotiations under the Taylor Law with the Town of Highlands Teachers Association. The board will not be returning to open session to take action.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. So thank you, everybody, for joining tonight. Stay well and enjoy your weekends.
And before we go in, when are we going to start